New Orleans isn't just a party waiting to happen. It's happening, baby. I'm Carol Yelverton. Welcome to Hungry for Travel TV. We're doing gumbo and a luscious praline banana custard to celebrate. But first, here's a look at everyone's favorite, the French Quarter. You know how some foods just define a place? It's like that with New Orleans and gumbo, all of Louisiana really. So what is it? Well, here's a guide to gumbo from two of the area's top chefs.
Every Cajun and every Creole makes their gumbo a little different from everybody else. You ask 50 people, you get 50 different methods. They're all about the same. So pay attention.
One of the things that I learned from both my grandmas that I watch make gumbo, it starts with a good stock, the onion, celery, green pepper, and that nice, rich, roasted, dark cooked root. That's your main foundation.
It has to have the root. There's no way of getting around that deep, caramelized, nutty flavor. My daddy says, if you ain't never made a roux, you ain't never burned one. Sooner or later, no matter how good you are, you end up burning a roux. It happens.
Gumbo is one of those things where you put in the things that you like. We've got that foundation of the trinity, the stock, and the roux. But now other flavors are gonna marry. And Louisiana cooking, walks, crawls, swims, flies, if we can catch it, we will use it. When you cook seafood gumbo, we're taking some nice Gulf shrimp, and I just like to put the crabs in the shell because that adds such a depth of flavor. It's like cooking something on a bone. And we're gonna throw in oysters right at the end. Whew! They're gonna be swimming in this goodness. They're gonna be swimming in the goodness. Swim, backstroke, baby, backstroke.
I never mix land animal with sea. If it's gonna be crab, I'll throw some fish in it or some shrimp in it, but never sausage. I don't like the cross. Now that's me and my family. I see people put sausage in their shrimp gumbo all the time. As long as your gumbo good, I don't care. For my land-based gumbos, I like to use a good smoked andouille sausage. The finest of all Cajun sausages, in my opinion. Winged bird, I've got some duck right here. You can use chicken, turkey, wild quail, make good gumbo, pretty much anything that flies. Now, I like to use dark meat because it has all the flavor.
Now, some folks like to put okra in the pot to help thicken it. When okra was out of season, filet powder. Filet or okra, one or the other, not both.
Gumbo takes a long enough time to where you would never make it just for yourself. That doesn't make sense. I've never done that in all the thousands of gumbos I made. So you got to have people over. Chef, please try.
Oh.
I see he's got a spoon in his pocket. He's ready to go.
Oh, baby. That duck just came right off the bone. I mean, it's so tender. Oh, man.
Ooh, chef, that's good gumbo. And this is my favorite part right here.
Show 'em how, show 'em how.
You just, that's the best bite.
Everybody has to eat gumbo when they come to Louisiana.
Absolutely. It's one of the most versatile Cajun culinary cuisines out there in Creole Town.
Can you say that again? Culinary
No,
Cajun cuisine?
I barely got it out the first time.
That was good.
You want to repeat it?
I love those too. They're so great. So they taught us something really important. There are 3 essential elements that make or break your gumbo. So let me go through them just in a little bit more depth. Let's start with stock. Then we'll talk about the Holy Trinity and roux. Now, stock is a soup that you cook where you really have the bones in, or the fish in, and then you don't just leave it at that and have a broth, but you add vegetables and herbs, which creates a really rich flavor. So whether you make it yourself or buy it, always use stock and not broth. So next, the Holy Trinity, and this is really the foundation. These are the veggies that form an anchor for the flavors in the recipe. It's all about the celery, the green bell peppers, and the onions. Now what I do here is I have celery, green peppers in kind of about the same amount, but I tend to make a lot more onion. I put a lot more onion in the pot, and so I really have it broken down like that. So I might put 3/4 of a cup of celery, 3/4 of a cup of peppers, and then a cup and a half of onion in. Now let's talk about a Louisiana roux because it is deep and dark, and this is where the oil has really cooked into the flour and it gives you those beautiful chestnut mahogany colors. So traditionally these kind of roux were made on the stove with a lot of stirring and would take a long, long time to really develop that full aroma and the texture that you want. So some cooks now bake flour and oil together instead, and you can also use your microwave, and that's what I did. So I want to show you this roux. It is just this beautiful brown color. It has such a great smell, and you know, I was just so happy that it came out the way it did with it. It's just beautiful and just perfect. So it really is about watching the process, no matter how you cook your roux, and making sure it doesn't burn. So what I did is I stirred together 2/3 of a cup of vegetable oil, a cup of flour, and then I let it run in the microwave for 5 minutes. So I stopped at that point and I stirred at 30-second intervals, making sure it was going to be just right. So for my microwave, 7 minutes total cooking time was too much, but 6 minutes 30 seconds, perfect. So we're going to put all these into a powerful gumbo. But first, though, we want to take a look at Jazz Fest, one of New Orleans' signature events. It's not just jazz, though. See how all of New England's styles of music come together. So back to gumbo. Everyone's mama has her own special version of this thick, rich soup. Now, I may be a northern girl, but I've got a gumbo too, and it's my own little tribute to New Orleans. So we're making ours with chicken, andouille sausage, and mushrooms. So I've sliced and sauteed 2 andouille sausages right here. They're nice and spicy, and they're gorgeous. Now, if you're worried that they might be too spicy, you can use kielbasa, but you might want to try this first and just check it out. Then I sauteed chicken thighs. I have 2 big chicken thighs that I sauteed, or you can do 4 small ones. Now, the reason the bone is in these thighs is that they're going to add to our stock. They're going to give out lots more good flavor, so enrich the stock and that whole rich flavor base that we want. And as you heard, chicken thighs cook for a long time without drying out, and they really work perfectly here. So the next step, I pulled the meat off, and I have it ready. And now it's time to start rocking this thing. So the roux is going in. That's going to cover at the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to just go super fast here for time. So basically get your roux all nice and warm, and then what are you going to add but the Holy Trinity? Here it goes, everything in the pot. All right, so then we're going to cook this together. I got flying celery there. I'm going to cook this together, and then what I want to do is add our spices. Now, here's a combination. It's 2 teaspoons of oregano, a tablespoon of dried basil. I've got a teaspoon of celery seed, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and some black pepper too. So this is kind of a Creole style, which you'll find in New Orleans. So I'm going to get all that in there. And then I have diced 4 garlic cloves. Again, this thing's going to have a lot of flavor to it, so get those in there now too. Then we're going to let this all kind of cook together, mingle together, have some fun together, all right? Let's talk too about just the heat level, because some people get really nervous about the idea of gumbo being too spicy or too hot. Now, the sausage is already bringing some hotness, and that may be enough for you, but I know a lot of people also love it really hot and spicy. So I'd say start with an 1/8 teaspoon of both cayenne pepper and white pepper, and then go up from there, keep tasting. Some people will throw a little chili pepper in there, whatever you like. Now, I don't like white pepper in gumbo for some reason, so I leave it out, but that's the idea of gumbo. You know, put in what you like, you know, use what you like, make it your own. So then, by the time this is all kind of worked together, we had 6 cups of our really, really excellent quality stock. This is chicken stock. So it looks like a lot, but again, we're making a soup, but it's going to be a very, very thick soup. And right now, it doesn't look that thick, but it will. So then we are going to put in our sausage and also our boned chicken and let that all just really marry together. I'm also going to add a little salt. And again, you can taste for salt, but we always start with salt anyway. So I've got some salt in there. And then it's about 1.5 hours right here in the pot. I just, you know, let it cook, let it just mingle and marry together and come together. And then after that time, it's time to put in the vegetables. So I love the idea of mushrooms, and we're going to add about 1.5 cups of mushrooms. Now, there are wild mushrooms in New Orleans, which are really beautiful, and they have great qualities, but we're going to use just cremini mushrooms here because we can't get those mushrooms. So these will do, and these are fine, and we're going to cook those through. And again, it's like, it just works with the chicken, you know, it's a very nice kind of mixture. And then I've added something that I think has really kind of changed the dynamic a little bit, and it's the soft sweetness of butternut squash. So I've got a bunch of butternut squash that's going to go in. And by the way, microwave the squash for about 5 minutes and then try and cut it. You know, it's really hard to cut a whole raw squash, but if you give it a little microwave action, then it'll be a lot easier to cut in there. So now we have all these intense flavors in our pot, and we're also going to be adding parsley, some scallion, and fresh thyme. So we'll get that in there, stir it all around, and I let it cook again for like another 45 minutes. And then turn the heat off. And this is the key. I add about a tablespoon of filet powder, which they spoke about, and it's just a beautiful thickening agent, and it also adds a really nice color to the gumbo. So I like that. So that's in there. And then leave the lid off and let this sit for about 1 hour. And somehow in doing that, everything clicks. It just all works. It's the right thickness, it's the right flavor. Beautiful. Let me show you a finished shot of what this looks like. Ah, so good. That was so delicious. My family loved it. It's thick and rich with earthy, spicy flavors. I mean, the chicken is so good, and that andouille sausage pops out big time. The mushrooms are luscious, and that squash, it just adds that little gentle element. So, as I say, big hit last Sunday. It was a really hot day. It was like, well, it must be like the way it is when you have gumbo in New Orleans, nice and hot and having a hot dish. And it was good. So with its food, music, and party mentality, New Orleans is one of the most distinctive cities you'll ever visit. And if you don't want to take my word for it, just take a look at an event you're not going to find anywhere else. New Orleans' famous Thursday night rock and bowl.
Rock and Bowl is a New Orleans institution where you can rock and roll while you bowl. And on a Thursday night, you'll need more than your bowling shoes. It's Zydeco night. You'll need your dancing shoes.
In New Orleans, it's always fun, and especially on Thursday night, it's Zydeco night at 8:30. We start. Zydeco guys don't take a break, and the dancers don't take a break. They dance every song non-stop until midnight. New Orleans, there's a spirit. You gotta be here and to know that people love life. If you want to see what real New Orleans is like, I think it's here.
It doesn't matter how old you are or what shape you're in. If you're looking for a good time in New Orleans, well then Rock and Roll is right up your alley. I'm Flirty Girl, and that wraps up another edition of Go NOLA TV, and we'll see ya next time, darling.
So Flirty Girl is the spokesperson for the Department of Tourism in New Orleans, and she does a great job with all kinds of little videos. So you saw how fantastic Jazz Fest is for all kinds of music, but it's New Orleans, and so it's all about the food too. Here's a taste of what you'll discover each year at Jazz Fest.
Jazz Fest Foods, take one.
There's a lot of great things to eat at Jazz Fest.
Well, which ones I don't like?
Some of the staples are alligator pie,
crawfish Monica,
crawfish Monica,
Crawfish Monica?
Crawfish Monica.
crawfish Monica.
Crawfish Monica.
Crawfish Monica is a unique and exceptional phenomenon of a man who runs a restaurant serving a single dish open 2 weeks a year. And it's a successful business. You can't get Crawfish Monica otherwise, unless you hire him to cater your party or something like that.
The alligator pie.
Alligator pie.
Mock shoe is sort of a hidden gem over by the Fado stage.
I like to get some red beans.
Red beans and rice.
Yeah, red beans and rice.
Chandelier po' boy, alligator sausage, hot sausage.
I highly recommend the cochon de lait po' boy, which is roast pork.
It's cochon de lait.
You gotta buy them separately, but you put the cracklings onto the cochon de lait po' boy.
Let's face it, how you can go wrong with that? Delicious.
Can't beat that.
What else? Oh, you gotta have a soft shell crab po' boy.
Soft shell crab po' boy.
Soft shell crab po' boy.
That's the first stop. Gotta have that.
Cochon de lait po' boy, soft shell crab po' boy, the iced tea.
The rose mint tea with honey.
I like the herb tea.
The rosemary teas.
Oh yes, those are
refreshing.
nice.
And you always have to end your afternoon off with a mango freeze.
I love mango freeze.
I like mango freeze.
Mango freeze.
The white chocolate muffins.
The white chocolate bread pudding.
Everything out there is specific and unique to this region of this country. And we want to share it with everyone who gets to come visit, you know? It's the best food in the world.
He goes on and on. That's about all I've had so far.
Everything looks so good. You know, bananas are a favorite in New Orleans, and the city is famous for its candied pecans. They're called pralines, darling, not pralines, as they're called elsewhere in the country. So I've put together a sweet little dessert with both of these flavors, a praline banana custard. So let's start with the pralines. I toasted pecans, and these are just small little pecans, until they were just, I could just smell them. And then some salt, because salted pecans, yes, right? And then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and butter. And then we're good to go. We've got this all set. So now I'm going to make the custard. And in the blender, I've got 6 egg yolks. I like to use a high-powered blender to get the custard started. So I have the egg yolks, and then what I'm going to do is add 2 cups of half and half. Pretty simple to do this. And then I have a half a cup of sugar. I've got a little more in here, so I'm just going to put the half cup in. And then I bet you think I'm going to put banana extract in, don't you? But actually, I'm putting something called banana emulsion in. There's no alcohol in this, and so you don't get the bitter aftertaste that you get with extracts, and especially in something like this where it's a custard, you know, you would really taste that alcohol piece of it. This is going to taste so much better. The aroma just right now is just amazing, just beautiful bananas in this emulsion. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon in. It makes a huge difference in it. Come on, it's taking its time coming out. Doesn't want to be rushed, because it's all about the South. Take your time in the South, and so does the banana emulsion, apparently. All right, so we have this good to go. I just have to add a little bit of salt to it. So let me do that. Not much, but just a little pinch. So let me get that in. Okay, and now let's get ready to go. Okay, so I start this slow. And then what I'm going to do is build up the speed. And I'm going to get this to level 6. And we're going to let it rock, going to let it do its thing. And I actually let it go. I'm going to turn it down now because I know it's loud. I let this go for 5 minutes. And what happens is that everything gets warmed up in here, so this really helps to form the custard base that we're looking for. So it's kind of, again, a kind of a hack on making custard, but it just puts it all together. So I'll take the lid off, and then what I do is I just pour this into ramekins. Now I've got 4 8-ounce, but you can use 6 ounce, whatever you'd like. My family likes big portions on this stuff, so you know, I go with the flow. So there, we get that in, beautiful. Put this back up here. And then I'm going to take some of those beautiful pralines that we talked about, not pralines, pralines, and I just like to drop them in so they actually sink into the custard a little bit too. Now you could wait until the end and put them just on the top, and they're really fine that way too. And this is actually, this shows them what they look like when they're just on top. There we go. So, and that kind of caramelizes up. And I love that flavor because it's crispy and salty and really nice. But I also like this version when you just get the pralines into the custard and they have a chance to all cook together. So now, getting this into the oven is always crazy because a lot of times you need to put water in, but if you're trying to carry like these custards in a pan with water and get it into a hot oven, it's like insane. So what I do is I kind of open the oven door, I get the custards in, and then, excuse me, while I get the water, oh hi, back, and then I'm going to add warm water about halfway up, and then I have a 350 oven. So what I do is I put this in the preheated 350 oven, and I let it go for about 60 minutes. So that's a long time, but it's really what it takes to cook these. Just insert a thin knife in, and if it's still liquidy, let them go for another 5, maybe 10 minutes more. And when the custard's all set, again, just pull them out of the rack, and then you're good to go with them. So let's show you a picture right now of how they look. Oh, they're so beautiful. And this tastes so good. The custard is creamy, it's filled with a smooth banana flavor, and then those salty nuts with the brown sugar and the butter, oh my gosh, so good. I added just a little fresh whipped cream on top. You can just see how it's soft and folds in. I just like that effect of it, and it really tasted so good. It's just like you're in heaven. You know, it's all part of the culture and style of New Orleans. I'm Carol Yelverton. Thanks for being with us. Until I see you again, stay hungry for travel.